Thank you guys for tuning back in. This is my overview of me making McCalls 8524, a man's robe. This robe was very easy to make in a sense, but I did have a lot of trouble with my material shrinking when I pre-washed it. It is a flannel. I had to end up going back and getting an additional couple yards. That's after I even bought extra material to cover the yardage. So let's get started. I started off with making the pockets, and that's just how I started with the belt loops. And this is me turning the pockets outward. I'm just using a little pick I have that came with my machine to turn it over. And then I went back and pressed all the seams down on the pockets so I could just sew the pocket onto the front of the robe. Okay, this is just me working on the pocket, getting it ready to make sure I have everything even and folded in. I was gonna sew across the very top of it. Then halfway through, I decided not to do that and just to make sure I had the ends folded before I went all the way across there. Okay, this is just me pressing down the seam allowance for the pocket and make sure I had those real crisp before I completed sewing around anything on the pocket. And I did do a little sewing around the pocket after I pressed it out, and then attached it pinned it to the front of the robe. I used markings on the front of the robe, but the way I did it, I made little holes by just pushing a needle through my pattern just inside of the pocket area, and that let me know where to put my pockets at. I guess a lot of y'all recognize I do press a lot on my sewing machine. It is a Brothers machine. It's a real good machine. It's metal, and sometimes I do just press little pieces on top of my machine. It doesn't seem to hurt the surface, so yeah, so I use that as a pressing surface also. Okay, this is me now going back, and after I had everything pressed out neatly and sewing around the pocket so everything was nice and crisp. Okay, this is pattern piece number 2 in the front of the robe. And yeah, so I've got the pattern pieces marked. This material gave me a lot of trouble. It twisted a lot. I guess that's why it was on sale for $3 a yard. I don't know, but I don't think I'll ever buy that material again. But also now me sewing on the belt loops, I cut them in half, cut that one long piece in half, and put the belt loops on there, on the fronts. Okay, this is me getting the pattern piece out for the back of the robe, and it was cut out on the fold, so I just had to fold it down. And then I'll be matching up the shoulders, and you're gonna see me make a mistake there. I had the wrong piece on there, but I didn't sew it. I went back and matched up the piece, and you'll see me later matching up the right shoulder seam with the right one later on down the line. But I always like to show you, even experienced sewers do make mistakes. I knew when I looked at it that the notches didn't match, and I was like, what's going on? But I left it. Then I went back and checked over the guide sheet, and sure enough, I did not have it right. So I went back and put it together, right sides facing each other. You see where those notches are not matching? That's not right. So I went back and checked it and made sure that I had the right piece with the right piece, the front piece with the right side, and continued on. But you are seeing me going all the way down to the side, but I did get that corrected. See right here, I got the notches matched up, so I got that together, and I switched to my serger to do this part of the sewing. Now this is me sewing on, working on the shawl collar of the robe, and this had a typical installation, but they wanted you to sew that across and then sew it to the robe and then whip all that by hand. So I decided that that was a lot of hand sewing for a robe, and it needed to be small if it's going to last, and it would take up too much of my time. So I decided to put white binding on the edging, and then from there sew up as far as I could without it twisting, and then finish it up by hand. It was and I put 3 yards of binding on it. That's how much hand sewing they expected people to do with this, which would work, but for it to be solid hand sewn, the stitches need to be small, and I just wasn't willing to do that much handwork on a robe, because the robe takes a lot of wear and tear. People were laying around in it and all that kind of thing. So yeah, so this is just me after I have gotten the 2 shawl pieces together, and now I have the facing on it, and I'm attaching it to the front and the back of the robe on the inside pieces, so around the neckline. Okay, now I have the front facing on. That's gonna make that shawl-like collar. And got it all sewn. I always check over to make sure I don't have anything bunched up, catched up anywhere. And now this is where you fold it over and attach it. And like I said, I did opt to sew it until it started to twist, and then I stopped it there, and then I went back to the other side and did the same thing. That's where I'm showing you where I had pressed it out at. Make sure you press as you go. Okay, after I got this collar finished, I worked on the sleeves, and I serged the edges of this inside the sleeve except for the notched area. Now I marked the notches and the part right there where you're supposed to stop. It was a little circle, so I just notched it right there, and I left that piece open because you needed to have that open to sew it to your robe. So yeah, I'll just show you where I did that at. So matching up your dots to dots there, if that makes sense to you guys. Okay, this is a little bit still working on the sleeve. I'm attaching the cuff to the bottom of the sleeve now, so I'm turned it inside together, but first I have to sew the cuff together, and then I'll be able to attach it to the sleeve, bottom of the sleeve. So that's me attaching the cuff together and have it on that little pressing ham and pressing it open real good, and then attaching it together, carefully matching the notches. Okay, you guys, this is me working on the finished sleeve and how I turned it under and sewed it down to make a cuff. And I used the machine to do that. Yeah, so now this is the final product. And I want to thank my son for modeling it for me. Also, I want to ask you guys to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel, to help my solo craft family to grow. And I just want to thank you guys once again for really sticking in there with me. And I'm going to try to get these videos out more quicker, but sewing does take time. So just stay with me, and thank you for watching. Peace out.